the Mitty. This is Mitch Thompson's pro model from Rayne Longboards. Sick board. Just going to go through, I guess, what this board is like, some of my pros and cons, and my recommendations for who might like it or who might not like it. Yeah, I mean, first up, it looks sick. I love the graphic. It's like a panda dude in a snake. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I've been a fan of Rayne longboards for years now. When I first got into skating, I really didn't like the construction, but probably 5 years now I've been riding Rayne longboards. I normally ride a dark side. Yeah, I like the company. It's cool. Sick deck. The construction is really nice. I'm not Australian. I'm from New Zealand. I've never met Mitch, but I'm pretty stoked for him. I've been following him for a few years. Following kind of the long time it took for him to get his pro model. So as soon as this dropped, I was super excited. I bought it right away. I was kind of in the market for like a downhill oriented deck anyway, but yeah, I had to support the Aussie homie who I've never met, but anyway. Yeah, I've had it for a couple of months now. There's not really too much skating around here to really warrant it, but I really broke it in at Maryhill. It was awesome. Maryhill was a great time, and that's where I really got to get a feeling for this board and really break it in and see how it was. So that was sick. But yeah, we'll get into the specs. It's 32 inches long, 9.1 inches wide. It's got wheelbase options of 20.25 to 22.25. Obviously a top mount, pretty short, small. So this is like a downhill race style board. Obviously. The construction is just like the standard Rayne construction where it's bamboo and fiberglass. So it's really light and quite stiff, like a regular Rayne deck is. They're normally quite stiff, which is, I like that. It's a good thing. Yeah, I'm running it with my Valkyrie Voxters. I have the 145 to 155 millimeter hangers, and I'm running on a split of 45 to 25, which fits really well. I've currently got alphas on it. And I find that pretty much perfectly matches for the rail match. I don't know if you're going to be able to see. The wheels maybe slightly stick out. But no, it feels really dialed, really sick. But yeah, so obviously this is a downhill race oriented deck, being with that shorter like standing platform and wheelbase, as well as the sort of narrower size. But it's not sort of all the way narrow, all the way short, like a lot of the proper race decks that are out there. So it's sort of that like a middle ground deck, really. But I've got it set up in more of a downhill orientation for me. Yeah, pros of this deck: concave is really nice. It's actually got some W concave in the back as well, but not in the front, which is cool. I'll try and do a bit of a... These things never really work that well, do they? But you can kind of see. When they first dropped the pictures for this board, a lot of people were commenting, oh, that's just a dark side, or that's just a dark side. I've been skating a dark side for 5 years. It's not a dark side. It's quite a bit mellower cave, which is a good thing, I think. And no bacon, obviously. And the drops are significantly less aggressive than a dark side. And yeah, I think they're actually shorter. I don't know, I should look that up. But they're nowhere near as aggressive as a dark side, basically, in concave or drops. In fact, I actually stand half on the drop on my front truck. You can kind of see the mounting there. And the drop doesn't matter for that at all. In the back, not so much. It makes a real nice pocket between the W and the drop for your toe to really lock in there. It feels really good for toe side drifts. Yeah, wheelbase options are good, I guess. You can kind of have a little bit of flexibility there, but I don't know. It's kind of just, it's nothing too crazy. It's just standard, pretty good. The construction I already mentioned. It is Rayne construction, bamboo fiberglass, so it's a really light deck. It's pretty stiff, which if you're skating something smooth is really nice. So when we were at Maryhill, that was super nice. All the roads around here are kind of rough, so even with like Alphas or Magnums, you can kind of feel the vibrations. So that comes into preference as well, but I think it's a good thing. If you're on a smooth road, you're not going to notice anyway. Let's get into some of the cons. Probably the biggest surprise of this board when I got it was actually that it's not fat bottom. I really thought Rayne was going to go all out and go with their fat bottom construction. The fat bottom construction basically is like the thickness of the deck, like the ply of the deck gets thinner towards the rails, which this board doesn't have. And what that does is it just gives you that little bit extra wheel clearance where your wheels are without having to like too much affect the structure of the board. I guess it probably makes it a bit lighter as well and makes it kind of nicer to pick up. This board doesn't have that, which I don't know if that's just they didn't feel like doing that, or if there was something about the structural integrity of the board with the fat bottom didn't work. I don't know, but it doesn't have that, which is one thing. But it also doesn't actually have wheel wells, so the wheel clearance of this board isn't exactly what I hoped for, because once you get onto these sort of narrow-ish trucks, I don't want to say narrow, mine are medium, but narrowish trucks and the big wheels, like I was running Magnums at Maryhill, you kind of want the confidence of the wheel clearance, well I do anyway, so I'm actually running risers on this board because it has drops and no wheel wells. There's like, if I run my fingers along the back more than the front, like a slight indent, but it's really not even a wheel well. This is the clearance with Alphas while running risers. It's like decent, like I've never had wheel bite, but I'm running risers. I think you could run them in the flush mounts, and maybe you won't bite. You're supposed to skate fast, and if you're going fast, you won't bite anyway. But for me, and I know for a lot of other people out there, wheel bite is something that sounds really scary, so I run risers. The other thing, kind of in the similar area, is these flush mounts are not like, I'll just show you, they end. They create like a lip here, so that's like an indent in the board, which I guess for most trucks is probably completely fine because they'll just fit inside, but for Voxsters I'm running the adjustable plate, so if I want to go on the longer wheelbase with my adjustable plate, you can't. You're not going to be able to see that really, but my adjustable hanger is actually hanging out into space above the board, and it's not actually even sitting in flush with the flush mounts. So if, like an example would be a Paris truck wouldn't fit on the longest wheelbase of this board. Just something to think about. I don't know if people would really run Paris trucks on this, but you never know. Yeah, they're not really major cons. I just run risers, solves both those issues straight away. So that's been perfectly fine for me. Yeah, to summarize, it's definitely more of a downhill racy board. Like that's what Mitch does. He does like racing. That's what he's designed it around. But I think, especially for someone like me who's normally skates wider trucks, normally does a lot more stand-ups, freeride, it's a really good middle ground for getting towards those shorter, narrower trucks, bigger splits, downhill-oriented setups, without committing to something short and narrow that you feel like you can't stand on. Like, that was a big thing for me, was not feeling like my foot's got nowhere to go. There's a little bit of room at the back. The stance isn't too short. It's not too narrow. It feels pretty comfy. It took me a little bit to get used to, but it feels really comfy for that. It pretty much perfectly rail matches with Alphas, and I'm on 145mm trucks. So that's really not too narrow either. So if you're riding somewhere in the middle, or you're thinking about transitioning from freeride into like a downhill-oriented board, this is going to be a really good board for that. If you're new to skating, if you're just like a free rider who likes to do stand-up slides, you ride 180mm trucks, like this probably isn't going to be the board for you. Just because like your wheels, it's a narrow deck, your wheels are going to stick out the sides, it's going to feel funky, it's going to feel short, it's not quite made with that in mind. It is exceptionally nice for drifts and hands down. I did a bit of hands down freeride on this. I even did some stand-up freeride actually. I caught a set of wheels on them, which was pretty fun. It's just super snappy, responsive when you get that split trucks on the narrower, everything matching. It feels really good for that. Yeah, that would be my overall summary though. It's just, I don't know, seems nice to me and I don't really race. So for that sort of in-between board coming from freeride into downhill, or if you skate downhill but you want to start getting more serious without committing to something tiny and narrow and big splits, this is a really good in-between transitional board for that. And it looks sick, and yeah, it's cool. That's about it. That's all I've got to say now.